Hey gamers, Rick here with Game Trade Media. I told you I'd be back, and I'm back with Steve Ellis. He is a game designer known for such titles as...
Well, T-Dragon Society for one.
What?
Yeah.
I heard that's a pretty popular game.
It's very popular at this show.
Yeah?
Yeah, this
show
show is doing
being
really well.
PAX Unplugged, for those of you that didn't realize.
PAX Unplugged. We also sold out at Gen Con where it debuted this year.
Yeah, I was there and I saw it. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's great. It's kind of it's different from your average hobby game, right? So it's more of a family game, very casual, plays in about half an hour, 2 to 4 players.
Right.
So kind of anyone can play. There's no hidden information. So there's no secret hand. So it's easy if you're a family to help kids out and that kind of stuff without offending anyone's ego about needing help. Right, it's all right on the table.
So the T-Dragon Society is obviously based off of the writings of from the book, the manga, right? It's considered manga?
So no, it's just a graphic novel. It's a young adult graphic novel by Katie O'Neill. She won an Eisner Award for the book this year.
Nice.
So yeah, she's a fantastic artist and writer. So she did this one last year, and it was just really well received. Like I said, won the Eisner. Right. And she's been, she toured the U.S. earlier this year. Okay. But she's from New Zealand, so, no PAX Unplugged this year. It's hard to get over her very often.
Of course.
But yeah, it was great. I read the graphic novel one time, and I was hooked completely. And I said, we have to do a game on this because her world is just so engrossing. Okay. The game's about taking care of these little T-Dragon characters. Okay. And they're kind of like the most impressive, finicky cat or puppy you've ever had, right? Okay. But they're more intelligent and they're more interesting and they're just like such a neat little creation, right? As opposed to your big fantasy dragon that's this big scary thing, right? These are like little pet things.
Yeah, they're cute.
Dragons
are cute.
Very cute. Yeah, very cute indeed.
So what we have here, for everybody watching, this is the green box is the retailer version of this game. Correct. And the white box is the PAX Unplugged exclusive?
Yeah, so this is the white one is one we did for convention exclusive. And the big difference there is that it's got all of the main characters from the book itself on the cover. So for the Katie O'Neill fans and the fans of the book originally, that white cover is really kind of sought after by them, right? Whereas we did the green cover, which focuses on the dragons for the retail game version, right?
Let's take a look at this real quick.
Sure.
So we can show off the beautiful artwork.
Yeah, we can show off the cool thing in there too. At least I hope it's still in there.
All right.
So this is kind of one of the... Try to show this off here. So like most games, it's got a very traditional rule book. Right, so your very traditional rule book, same kind of thing. You're going to see some diagrams, there's some definitions, that kind of stuff. But the thing we did that was really different in this one is that we went through and did a comic book where the characters from the book itself actually teach you how to play the game.
That's cool.
So it's kind of a neat thing. It's both sides.
That's super cute, too.
And so it's kind of neat because if you don't want to read an actual rule book with kind of generic rules text, you can pick up this comic, read the comic, and actually know how to play the game. Nice. And then if you have questions, you can always refer to the actual rule book to get a definition on a card or things like that.
And so here's some of the cards that you'll find in the game as well, and the artwork is just beautiful and obviously of the stylings of the book right there. So tea ceremony, all right.
Storehouse. There's just lots of...
Beautiful.
Katie's such a fantastic artist, right? It just gave us a real opportunity to kind of highlight her abilities and skills as an artist and kind of frame all these really neat little cards with little snippets of her artwork. A lot of these are snips from the book itself where we pulled images, but Katie also did about 25% to a third of the book.
Wow.
She added new art for the game. So it's just really neat for fans and also for just people who maybe are more casual gamers to get into something. It's kind of a very light deck builder with a neat push or luck element in the deck itself, where there's a few bad cards in the deck that you're trying to avoid, and there's a few ways that you can trigger reshuffles where you get your discard pile and stuff back in your deck. So there's some control over when you see those bad cards. Right. And that's kind of where the second layer of the game comes in, and people start to realize, oh, there is more to this simple little game.
Right. So you're doing another game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this also is by Oni Press?
Yep.
Okay. And
yeah.
What's
so Yeah, all of our games are the Oni Press stuff right now. We're in a partnership with Renegade Games, so they do
Right.
our actual production overseas, and they handle distribution in the U.S. and stuff. So the next game we're going to do is Aquacorn Cove. That one's going to come out probably in fall of 2019.
Wow.
And so this is going to be a co-op board game, a family co-op board game, where it's kind of got a little bit of an ecological twist while you're trying to increase the population and draw more people to your village.
Okay.
It's a little fishing village, but at the same time, you're trying not to overfish and damage the environment too much, because if
Okay.
you do, then the storms that come through that area won't have the reef to protect the village, and it'll do
Right.
more damage and stuff. And that's based on this book here, which is Katie's new book that came out in October,
Okay.
and that's called Aquacorn Cove. And it's just another really nice kind
Right.
of easygoing general story
Right.
about, life recovering at the village after a big storm.
Nice.
Where they kind of realize that maybe over the course of the last several decades, they've been overfishing and doing some things that maybe weren't helping the environment, so they're trying to figure out what to do.
Okay, that's super cool.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat.
So one of the things for everybody out there watching that's really cool too is with the holidays coming up, you're always looking for those great stocking stuffer games or items. T-Dragon Society obviously fits that bill. As you
Yeah.
can tell, it doesn't come in a very large box. It's going to fit perfectly in any stocking and should be in every stocking this holiday season. So go to your local game store and pick it up. If they do not have it, you can ask them to get it through their Alliance distribution. And also, if you are here at PAX and happen to check out this video, make sure you stop by the Renegade or Oni booth
Renegade or Oni.
and pick up the con exclusive version of that. Now, Steve, you also are a retailer.
That's true, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your shop.
So I'm celebrating our 20th anniversary this year, so that's kind of cool.
Right.
It's kind of, I can't believe it's been 20 years. I mean, I was in high tech before that, and I started the store with a friend of mine, Jeff, and we're still in business together, and
Nice.
it's been kind of a crazy ride.
Sure.
Feels like it's been like 5 years.
Okay.
I mean, it just goes by so fast when you're having fun, right? But our store has always been focused on board games. We do the other game. I mean, we do Magic and those other games as well. But our core focus has always been on having a very welcoming family atmosphere where we've got, we were focused on Catan and Ticket to Ride and those type games when we opened back in '98.
Okay.
And so that kind of stuff has always been at the core of our business and giving kind of families and casual gamers a place to hang out and have fun and play. And
Okay.
trying to bring more people into the hobby,
Okay.
as opposed to just, selling. I mean, it's great selling Magic, never going to lie.
Sure.
Right? As a retailer, it's been great for all these years. But those are people who know we exist, right? I mean, so it's been neat to kind of bring more people into the fold
Right.
over the years, right? And have lots of board game nights. We have a designer series of things at our store where we invite designers out. And so it's a chance for fans to kind of mingle with and play with designers and get to know them as people.
Right.
And so that's always a good time. We do a lot of publisher nights where we'll take a various publisher and we might focus an evening on 4 or 5 of their games.
Okay.
So that's always been a big success as well.
Nice.
It's nice. I mean, we have so many great people in the industry that I love partnering with designers and publishers and all these great folks I've met over the years, right? So it's been great. I mean, I was in high tech before, like I said, and it's not the same environment.
No.
Right? So in this industry, I get to meet great folks like yourself,
Well, thank
and
you.
I mean, all these people over the years. It's so much fun.
I one of the things that we've talked about on other streams this weekend is the community that this industry is.
Yeah.
And like you can be over here at Calliope, and when you bring up White Wizard, they're gonna be, oh, I love those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna be
right?
like, they are making such great stuff, and
Yeah.
nobody's like, what? It's never like that.
It's-
I mean, sometimes there might exist,
I mean,
but
maybe,
it's very
but-
far and few between. It's such an engaging and supportive community.
It's been great. I mean, I started the store, and then, after about 10 years, I started doing development and design work for several companies.
Right.
And so it's like everybody is so welcoming. I mean, you look at, you take someone like Eric Lang,
Right.
who's like this kind of world-renowned famous game designer now, right? And Eric is the nicest guy ever. And I mean, when I first met him, I mean, we hit it off immediately.
Right.
He's been super nice. Everyone I meet in the industry is
Right.
just the next level of supportive and helpful and nice and interesting. And so for me to be able to kind of pay that forward by having designers to my shop and
Right.
introducing them to more fans and doing things like that is great, right? And
Right.
being a publisher and helping work with upcoming designers and stuff. I did T-Dragons with my friend Tyler Tinsley, and he's an amazing talent.
Okay.
And like, none of these games that are coming from this line would exist without Tyler.
Okay.
Right? I mean, and he's a younger guy, and we're, giving him some exposure, and I hope that he'll be a big hit and be a famous game designer someday
Yeah,
as
that
well,
would be
because he should be.
Right.
So yeah, it's great.
So if someone out there is watching that maybe you haven't gone to your friendly local game store or don't know about it or kind of maybe intimidated by the fact that the games have evolved over the last 20 years.
Very much so. Very much so.
They shouldn't be an intimidating factor. What you as a retailer, what would you say to someone that they ask you like, well, I'm a little nervous. Why should I come to a retail location?
So I would say that a good retailer is going to treat you so well these days. I mean, when I opened my store, I think I went through probably 10 years of where a lot of game stores were kind of a dark dungeon, and I'd have parents come into my store and go, oh, we drove by your store for a few years because once I went in a store and it was an awful experience and I hated it. And it's like your store is well lit and your staff is welcoming and you have games out on tables for people to play and your staff knows how to talk about those games and teach those games. And I think that type of store, that older store that was dark and dingy and didn't have staff that was friendly and helpful and just sat behind the counter and hid,
Right.
I think they're a dying breed at this point.
Right.
And you'll find that the modern retailer is much more engaging and interested in building communities and exposing you to games that you're going to like. I mean, my staff is really trained to focus on the customer and try to figure out what type of games they enjoy.
Right.
Maybe ask them what type of games are their favorites and try to find another game if they're looking for a game that kind of fits their play style or their needs. It's not just player counts and things like that. You have to figure out what people like. And I think that more and more retailers are very actively engaged with their customers. I mean, I teach a bunch of seminars at Alliance open houses or Gamma Trade Show and things like that to other retailers, kind of talking about why you should have demo tables and why you should put some casual games on those demo tables and, try to engage with the rest of the family that's dropping their teenage son off to play Magic.
Right.
Right? It's like there's a whole nother group of people there, and they probably enjoy games. They just don't know what they like anymore.
Right. I would agree with that statement. My brother, as a kind of a story to that, my brother takes my nephew to Magic Night.
Yeah.
And he would stay. And my brother was never really, we played, Monopoly and Sorry and Life as children in the 70s and 80s. But now my brother plays Armada and X-Wing.
There you go.
He would never have done that had he not stayed there at the store while his son was playing, while my nephew was playing. But now he's actively engaged and becoming part of the community. And I think that's one of the other two things that, like you mentioned. If you're going to take your children there, experience the space you're dropping them off in.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
you just might find that thing that's going to keep you there too.
I think the other thing is that if you go back even as few as 10 years, a lot of hobbyist games were very much hardcore hobbyist games.
Right.
And they were not accessible. They were very difficult to learn and play. And I think that's really changed. I mean, if you look at just some of the games from what I would consider kind of hardcore hobby company like Fantasy Flight Games, like their X-Wing game or things like these hobbyist games are very accessible, very easy to play. So it's not the same thing it was 10, 15, 20 years ago where games were all like this big, giant, thick, phone book of black and white text that you had to memorize and understand. Now it's like everything's on a card. You've got a little measuring stick. Like it's super easy, right? You just sit down, you've got the stuff, and you play. And it's like one step above Toy Soldiers when we were kids. It's just Toy Soldiers now with a very elegant, clean rule set that makes it fun.
Absolutely.
So it's so different and so much easier now to get involved. And I think people want to be involved.
I think they do too. And it's obvious, as if we were to take a look real quick at the showroom floor here, there are a lot of people interested in this hobby.
There are a lot of people. And this is a great example of that because this is a show that's really on the backs of a series of shows that are video game based,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all of these people have said, man, I actually really like sitting around the table with friends and family and playing.
Right.
I just didn't know what was there 5 years ago,
Right.
right?
And here we are.
And here we are. Now there's all kinds of cool stuff. There's
Right.
actually more cool stuff than you could play.
Right. And there's something for everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
if you talk to somebody who comes in the door and they're like, well, I'm not really into games. I'm like, well, what are you into? And they're like, well, I like watching like Grey's Anatomy. Ooh. Then
Exactly.
you want to check out Coma Ward. And they're like, what? And
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Like-
And they're like, there's a game called Coma Ward. And they're like, yeah, let's check it out. Let's take a look at
Exactly.
this. Or Looney's the anatomy and physiology game that they came out
Exactly.
with, the Anatomy Flux.
Yeah.
They're like, what? I was like, yeah.
Or people are like, oh, well, I don't know, really play games. I mean, well, what do you like to do? Oh, well, I like watching a lot of Netflix shows, this and that. It's like, oh, like detective things and this and that. Oh, yeah, well, there's a game called Detective,
Right.
right? You know, and it happens to be really good.
Really good.
You know, so there's all of these games now that have broken kind of all these boundaries.
Right.
That if you go back in time, we had fantasy games and space games, and there wasn't a great diversity of titles. Now you
Right.
can play a game about tea and little baby dragons,
How cool
right?
is
You
that?
know, I mean, so, but you can get a detective game, or you can get Holding On from
Hold on.
Asmodee.
So good.
Like, that's a new cooperative game where the premise of the game is someone is dying. You can't save them.
Right.
Like, that's not that's not what you can do. But
Right.
it's how do you kind of get their story out of them as they're dying
Yeah.
and unburden them in certain ways. It's just really cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool game.
You
It's so
know.
good. There's so much good stuff out there.
Yeah.
Steve, our time is up, and I apologize because I could
Excellent.
sit here for the rest of the day, and we could just have this
Well,
conversation.
we'll probably talk more later.
I think we will.
All right.
But before we go, where if someone is in your area, where can they find your store?
So my store is on the west side of Portland, Oregon,
Mhm.
in kind of Beaverton area. If you're in that part of the world, you'll know, but not. But west side of Portland, and the store is called Rainy Day Games.
Okay.
And like I said, celebrating our 20th anniversary, so we must be doing something right.
Must be doing something right. And you can check them out on Facebook, obviously.
Yep.
Uh,
Rainy Day Games,
okay.
Facebook, Twitter, all that weird stuff.
And then just keep your eyes and ears to the ground when it comes to all the cool games that you have your fingers in. And
There's a few.
There's a few out there.
Got about 5 more coming.
All right. I can dig it.
Done a bunch more in the
All right.
past.
Steve,
Thanks so
again,
much for your
thank you so
time,
much.
Rick.
I'm Rick. This is Game Trade Media. We'll be back real soon. But until then, check out all this cool stuff.